Hey guys, so I was watching a movie the other day, The Two Popes, and one thing I was just thinking about as I was walking is how one of the popes had made a reference to Saint Francis. And if you remember the movie on Saint Francis, I think it's called Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, they had a foundation of a church that St. Francis came upon when he was young. And so he left his family and left all his wealth and left, the rat race of their day and lived out in the woods, basically, and rebuilt this church, stone by stone. Then he moved on to bigger things and bigger groups, and then some would say he rebuilt much of the church, the non-physical church. So anyway, thinking about that, the Pope had said, oh, well, St. Francis made the mistake of thinking we meant rebuild the church as in the physical stones, but really it's the, spiritual side of the church that's struggling. And there wasn't much else referenced besides that. My point is just, it made me think about that whole process of there being a process, that your soul is going to nudge you in the perfect way. Just like for St. Francis, if you were with him and you were talking, with him about his spiritual journey, I'm sure there would be a whole chapter in there about his just transition of leaving the family, transition to his quiet time alone, transition to how he's going to keep active while he's in his transition to his deeper spirituality. And so building that church was, probably energetically as critical as anything he ever did in his life. And that then the next stage of him coming out and creating, a group of people and then the teachings and the influence he gave to the world, that sort of was all part of the steps, but you wouldn't say one of those prior steps was wrong. He lived with his family and he did all kinds of crazy things when he was young, I think, right? Wasn't he a war veteran, I think? But anyway, that may be St. Ignatius, but I know he was. But anyway, you get the gist of it. Everybody's on their perfect path, and you never second guess something you've done in the past and say, oh, I wish I'd been more of this, or I should have done this sooner, or those kinds of things, because stuff happens as you vibrationally are ready for it. So talking about that path of, potentially a path or an elevator going up in higher vibrations, higher understanding, deeper sense of peace and love and connection to others and peace and harmony and all that type of good stuff. So climbing up that ladder is always something that I'm thinking about. Not always, but if I'm going to chew on something, if I'm walking in the woods, I like it when it leads to this part of the conversation in my head. But anyway, so one of the thoughts on that was the whole process of listening to somebody who is talking on this level about, the reality of the spiritual climb and spiritual bliss that can be discovered as you continue to work your way up to a higher vibration, but one step at a time, and by loving where you are and appreciating where you are and knowing that where you are is perfect. So if I know that I'm perfect where I am, then sometimes I just want somebody, though, to nudge me in a little bit higher vibration, so I can listen to them on YouTube or look at a book for a minute or be around someone who does that for me or whatever it is. And then some actually spending time by yourself, quiet, and at some point when you've got the things done that you need to do for the day, or preferably really when you wake up, you're in the vortex, as they say, or you're connected to the light of divinity, and you're coming from source, and you're not bombarded in your head, hopefully, immediately by the fears of what could go wrong outside in the world, or what busyness you need to get to make sure you can get to that point of feeling exactly what we're talking about, feeling more at ease, feeling more peace, more deeper level of acceptance, all that type of stuff. So if we're trying to potentially busy ourselves outside in the world by doing things so that then I can feel better. Now you may say, I need money in my bank, that's the doing. I'm going to put all that money in the bank, then I'm going to feel better. Well, that type of thing happens in so many relationships and jobs, in people understanding you, any different types of acceptance that you're looking for. So on so many levels, like frequencies of a radio station, they're almost unlimited. So some are more predominant than others. But anyway, you've got things that drive you to do things and to worry about things and fuster over things and be the one who's actually taking care of a problem. That you forget that there's an equal and probably, I think certainly, more relevant teaching which says more is accomplished by sitting and being a little bit introspective of the driving fears that are stopping me from accomplishing things or stopping good ideas from coming to me. All the great ideas that have come to the planet in the past came from people in a trance sort of state of sleep, or waking from sleep, or napping, or something like that. It's when all the great minds came up with their great ideas. And the spiritual people who are just, maybe they didn't come up with great ideas, but they just have great presence, and they're healers, and they give blessings, and those kind of things, they also accomplish that through that state of relaxation. So if I say maybe we should all get a little nudge to sit down, slow down, and look within, and use somebody like myself to help you to look within, I think that would be fair and the least that I could do given what I believe. So, and I say the least I can do because I want it to be as gentle as it can be, because you can't go in, guns blazing and say, hey, what's going on inside my subconscious? You got a lazy mind going on here, and you got to tighten things up, and you got to start thinking this way. And what are you doing, body? You're running so fast. Slow down. You got to, it's not a militant takeover, a coup, but it's an understanding of where you are first, and an acceptance of who you are and how things are, and that there is an ego, and there is fear, and there is doubt, and there is struggle, and there is an outside force that seems to push us to focus on the things of the past or the future and ignore the now. But there's also the side of us, our souls, that are nudging us to the now, to be aware of the now and be present in the moment and take the cues that they're giving us and take the wisdom that they're giving us. So I think that's just another way to look at the same thing that I'm always pushing for, is slow down, go within, and find heaven within you. And there's no top floor. I just keep climbing, and I think mostly about how do I get other people a hand before I get too far away, maybe, or I don't think that ever really happens. And maybe it'll be easier for me to figure out how to give people a hand on their journey as I go along my own journey. So I'm okay with that if that's the way it's going to be. But I don't want to write a book about this invitation, and I don't want to send everybody a card. And I've told a bunch of people in person. But anyway, just an overwhelming sense of love and acceptance of the process made me stop a minute and spend 9 minutes and 37 seconds explaining to you, or expressing my desire to help people out of their struggle. And remind you that struggle, that little bit of in life, that little bit of what gets you out of bed and what gets you moving, and and I got to keep going. That feeling that pushes you is what we're talking about letting go of. And when you let go of that feeling, everything just gets so easy and juicy and exciting and loving and just beautiful is all you can say. So, I don't know that I could put that down in a book. So that's why I'm making this video. But it is nice and so simple, but yet so difficult, I guess you'd say. But, let's do it together. Anyway, if you feel inspired, call me and tell me what you're struggling with. What are you rubbing against? What's making you feel like you got to get up and go do something? Anyway, see you guys. Love you. Out.